I'm going to stay right here. I think this is good. And this is a good place to learn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start. That's what I wanted to do.
So does it mean he's not coming out?
He'll be up. He'll come as soon as the drinking starts. Okay. There's an idea given over by Rav Tatz that's based intrinsically on a Zohar. And we know that Rivka, when she was pregnant, had this terrible dilemma inside her. Rashi goes to great lengths to tell us what it is. That she believed she had a schizophrenic child inside. He doesn't say these words, I'll explain. Because he would walk by a house of worship to Hashem, and the fetus begin to roll up and kick. And I imagine her simply, she's like, wow, I've got this little tzaddik in here. She's walking past the shul, and this little tzaddik's like kicking and jiggling. And then she... Amen. And then she would walk past the house of Avodah Zarah, where they're doing the most terrible things. And it would also be drawn after that, and it would start to give existence. She didn't know who it was, because she's coming from that line of Abraham, worship one God, and yet she's got the child that seems to be drawn after both aspects of the spiritual reality, even before it's got out. And so she even says it churned within her. The Pasuk says it churned within her. It caused her great and terrible suffering. So who did she go and speak to? Who was her? Where was her destination point? Who did she go to speak to?
Shem or Abraham?
So we're right on the money. So Rashi says she went to speak to Shem and Eva. And you ask him, then other people say, what about Abraham? So this is the thing, you're giving birth to his seed, but she doesn't go to Abraham. Now there's some commentaries that say that it's Alpi Snua, that she didn't go to, because we talk about his seed and it was his son, and it wasn't Snua to speak to the father-in-law directly about such a matter. There's a daya to that. It's a very, very beautiful Torah. But then there's also a daya that she couldn't go to Abraham. She was unable to go to Abraham, because Abraham's Torah represents the Torah of Achdut, of believing in oneness, of being in a polytheatical world where everybody's worshipping all sorts of different things and believing that it's all one. That's Abraham's whole chap. He goes out to the people, he does chesed, and he feeds everybody. But she doesn't need to understand the Torah of Achdut. She has to go to the yeshiva of Shem and Eva, who were teaching this much original Torah in the time of the Tower of Babel. And that was a time of mass confusion and being drawn, and Shem and Eva had to stand against that. So she went there. She went there to seek advice from the people who had lived in a world of total disunity. Then later, obviously, she goes to Abraham, she gets the blessing, and we see that in the end she does go to Abraham. It's already sort of a known matter once they're born. And we get the birth of Yaakov and Esau. And quoting from several places, even Rav Peretz even agrees, is that Yaakov is or Penimi and Esau is or Hitzon. It even describes this outer light. It describes Esau as being hairy and being muddy and being rugged, and his whole essence is external. He goes out to catch things. He's the best at catching things. Too good at catching things, maybe. And when they're speaking about the Bechorah, the firstborn right, which has the same letters as bracha, of course. He's like, well, what about my belly? I'm hungry. I want to put something in it. I'm dealing with the or hits on. Whereas Yaakov is an Ishtam dwelling in tents.
In 12 tense, he's dwelling within himself.
Within himself. That's the ikar. That's the ikar difference. The Zohar is going to bring between what is the difference between us and right now between two worlds. So Ishmael already much higher, closer to Abraham. It's a very, very powerful thing that they are. That they have incredible potential for incredible good. Incredible potential for monotheism and moral monotheism, and it just needs some real serious tweaking and some editing, like in the Google Apps kind of level of like recoding what they're doing there, because it's going to be off the wall. But Esav, which we really call the Western world. Do you know that there's a grave for Esav in Hebron?
Oh.
But only his head is buried there.
Yeah.
And we know that's we know. Because the head of Esav goes all the way up. It puts things on the moon. It throws technology into space. It calculates immense worlds of a technology and mathematics and science and philosophy. But they fall into the guf of Esav. And the guf of Esav is drawn after the pleasures of this world. And very serious pleasures. And Esav was like he was like the Baal of like Taiva. He was like the Baal of all Taiva. If you liked it, he was into it. You know, that was his thing. So we see a lot of this week's Zohar deals with the construction of the world. This is probably one of the most famous Torah ideas that comes from the Zohar, is the construction of the world with the Torah itself, which is found discussed in our Parshat. That's really Yaakov's Indian. He's a Torah scholar. He's a B'nai Torah, recreating his universe with the Torah. There's a whole Indian. You know, the Torah was used to create the world, and we use the Torah to recreate ourselves. That's what Yaakov's doing. He's the Orpanimi, doing the tikkun. He's growing as a person. So we see that it wasn't created for anyone other than B'nai Israel who do the mitzvahs, which is the Ramach Evarim. These 248 limbs that a man has. There's 248 positive mitzvahs. Ramach has the same gematria as Avraham, who's the source of all this knowledge of going out into the world to make this world the best possible place it can, because of its ability to fall into darkness. Every generation talks about they had amazing people and terrible darkness. And it's always about whether or not we're doing the right actions in the world that create a harmonious, peaceful society and a world full of intelligence and chesed, or if we are if we're doing the opposite, if we're destroying the world, if we're sort of chasing after our own needs and being an Esav, I'll definitely join you one of those. Definitely.
You're gonna hire.
So these Ramach Everim, which is like a classic idea that we're going to if you're going to see in the side, you're going to see this even in Rebbe Nachman and everything. You see these 248 mitzvahs. This is the tikkun of Adam Rishon, the tikkun of his body, so to speak, his 248 limbs. That's what Torah is coming to do, is to try and bring us to the level of being a perfected human being. And that means that we act in a righteous way. And even,
Amen. Chaim, favorite success in the Torah, and really getting close to Hashem and knowing His way.
Amen.
The story.
Hatam Korov Hashem. Yes, but should be blessed with everything good. Should be Hatanim soon.
Amen.
We should have every goodness.
Amen.
Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu melech olam she'akol yibara.
Amen. I heard a story today of Rav Shalom that apparently he told a friend who was having these problems to say the Shakol blessing with full kavana every time for a whole month.
Oh.
And then noticing the blessings coming, and literally realizing that Shakol Nye Bevaro, everything was made for His word.
Yeah. So when you say Shakol, it's not just the experience you're tasting in front of you. It's the whole world that's required to create that experience. It was created especially for you to have this one moment with God, pulling yourself back for a second before you enjoy it, just to remember that he exists. The whole
And that
world was
he made
created
it.
for that moment.
And he was able to make the process, because think about honey and liquor, they had these complex processes to create it.
Yeah.
Liquor had to be distilled, the honey had to be produced by bees going to flower.
Being
The
flower.
flower.
The whole thing is ridiculous, and we have to just be. We have to be so grateful that we're having this experience, that we're allowed to have this experience of being that is at one point beautiful and incredible and awe-inspiring, and at other times terrible. But on both of them, it's better to have an experience than to not exist, no matter what your reality is. And so just be thankful for whatever it is you do have. Now these Ramach Everim, which I find the fact that it's Gematria Abraham to be completely awe-inspiring. It says that that Yitzchak, we know this from Rashi, he looked like Abraham. And there's a special nace that they did because people said it was Abimelech's child. But what does it mean on the higher level? It means that he was like a Ramach. He was already like a perfected person. He was Domaim Abraham, but he's not like Abraham at all. He's this other complete Partsuf, and he's totally Gibor, and he's almost crippled by the experience of the Akedah. So much so that Rivka has to have enough chesed to give to 10 camels, because that's how much chesed and kindness this guy needs, whose father was about to slaughter him for Hashem, and he went along with it, bound his own hands. I mean, PTSD, Valium can't help that. That's real.
That's beyond Valium.
That's beyond Valium, beyond anything that can help you. You have to be a Yitzhak to survive that.
Yeah.
Like someone who's broken, and it's almost like the wounded healer.
He did it l'shem Shemayim, even to himself. We can't imagine these levels. So I'm just going to try and roll back about what we were saying. So we're trying to come to this point about the Esav. This idea I'm going to give you is the central tenet of being Jewish, in my personal opinion, when we come from the world of Esav. We don't come, none of us come from the world of Ishmael, where it's majority Islamic country. I didn't. I visited Islamic countries. England is soon to be, and is it's becoming far more Islamic there, and I have many Muslim friends. But I grew up in a Western system. That's what I grew up. And what do we see in the Western system? You go to YouTube, you want to see the best hardcore metal harp player. And you want to see the best rock climber you ever saw, and the best weightlifter, and the best speed painter, and the best
painter.
One
people smoking giant coconuts of weed.
Whatever it is, you want to see the best.
Yeah.
Who's the best? The guy who can do that.
Most?
And that's so Esav. So much so that people express themselves and say, "What do you do?" I'm a.
Whatever my job is.
I am a. We are our actions, which is true.
To a degree.
The Torah tells us it's true.
But we can't deny, and even in the morning prayers, we have a pure soul within us that it doesn't show you what we do. It's just it's always there no matter what.
There are some sages who are called by their title, like the Sandala and things like that. So there are people who have this title as well. So Torah idea to be called what you do. But this idea of the be your best, be the best. And we live in a generation where the best is a really high level and really accessible to see. And you don't end up feeling like you're the best at much in our generation. If you're a normal person, I'm in the presence of very gifted holy scholars whose level is very high and very special. But I should be awed really, because you guys are like mamish geniuses. Come on, let's face it. You guys learning Hebrew, learning Aramaic. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. You guys, you have to be so proud of yourselves and be amazed that most people if you did a university course in Aramaic, you wouldn't be able to learn the Talmud that you learn every day. This is not university or PhD level learning. This is something everyone understands that it's not. You can get through a PhD in some kind of classical Hebrew study without the ability to translate deep things that you guys are doing for a Western university course. But what you're doing requires ancient language skills and modern thinking and current thinking, and it's an amazing thing that you guys are doing in learning Torah. You have to be proud of yourselves. And this is what Yaakov did. Yaakov was the inner light. Esav is looking to put people on the moon and build the first McDonald's on Mars. and Yaakov is looking to go inside himself, see the evil, confront it, and change it to good, and to become a whole person. And it's not that he's really good at this, it's that he's a really good person. Yeah, oh well, he used to be like that. Yeah, but he changed. He went through something and he changed. He went into the Torah and he changed. That's what we want to say. We want to say Balei Tshuva or someone so you can say, actually look back and say, you know what? Everything they say about me is true. But I'm not that person anymore. I can't say more to you than I did that damage back then, but that's not who I am now. And that's one of the big falsities that happens. I know I've said this before, is that people build a false picture of Teshuvah, and they say, well, I'm not Stalin, and I'm not Charles Manson, and you insert your favorite monster, but I'm not the Baal Shem Tov, I'm more like the Baal Shem Bob, and
Baal Shem Bob.
So you build this unrealistic spectrum of reality between like Stalin and like saints, and then you hang yourself in the middle and cry about it. Most people do this. Because Teshuvah doesn't happen in the past when you were doing so well, and it doesn't do in the projected false future. It happens now with Hashem. Now, this moment, with who you are, the Emet. It doesn't have to be this picture of Teshuvah. It's who you are now if you're conscious of Hashem. That's Yaakov's Inyan. And Yaakov's Inyan is to go inside himself, to grow inside himself, to generate this feeling of being connected with a higher reality. But Esau's all about, look, I can hit golf balls further than anybody else. Okay, great Esau, that's great for YouTube. But I'm trying to change who I am because I have things I'd like to work like that. I know that if I strive in my Torah and my learning and I work on myself, I'm going to become this lovely person, and that's who I want to be. I want to be a good wife and a good wife to Hashem, and a good husband to my wife, and I want to be a good father to my children, and I want to be a good friend to my thing, and a good teacher to my thing, and a good student. And you expand. This is expanded consciousness, and this be the best idea that Esau generates. This is what he was the best at. He was the best at catching everything. You wanted meat, Esau was out in the field. He got it. He did the whole thing. But they were eating treifas. But he would say it was caught. It was a. Do you see what I mean? It was so good at what he did, but it was all false.
So yeah, it was all treif. It wasn't even kosher.
He was just going.
It wasn't even kosher.
He was out there murdering and raping and stuff. But it was all under the banner of being the best at what he did. Very macho, very ego-central. Whereas Yaakov is he's an Ishtam. He's this sweet.
He's not trying to prove anything.
No, he's not trying to prove anything at all. The question you have to ask about Teshuvah, based on what I was just saying, is when you pray for the Am Yisrael to do Teshuvah, are you praying for them to change, or are you praying for them to do Teshuvah? I just want to pause on that question. I'll ask again a slightly different way. When you pray for Mashiach, we pray for the Geula, and you put it in your mind, do you pray for it to be that thing? Or are you praying for the people to do Teshuvah now and it would look like this? Many people make this error, and especially in various sects of our holy people, unfortunately, and in many religions worldwide, but they go out and they want someone to change. That's like I actually dealt with this crazy situation of this guy in South Africa shouting. There's a whole thing. I call this whole thing Cat's Corner now. This whole thing, as I walk past it, I remember this madness that happened to me. It's very interesting to me. But I see now that this is the key, is that people go out with this religious idea. You got it. If you don't believe what I believe, you're going to hell. You got to be like me. If your hat doesn't have 6 points, then it's only got 4 points. I'm sorry, bro. This isn't the God for you. If you're the wrong color, the wrong religion, the wrong sex, the wrong thing, if you're not like us, you're wrong. We're right. We're the only people who you come and say, well, I don't think you're right. They're like, oh, really? Because, the Rashba says like that. Then you get the whole conversation about who's right and wrong in the halacha and everything, and the Kabbalah and everything. who's right, who's wrong. It's this big open discussion, people talking in a safe tamimus way. We accept different colors and different minhagim and different. You could have 2 pots on a table, and for Pesach there are people. What if you, depending on what you put in it, some people eat, can't eat, but we can all sit like brothers and talk about what gripes us the most, and use the Talmud as a mechanism for getting into the deeper discussions of our Havruta about his life as well, which always happens on the page. We're a whole different light. That's what I'm trying to say. We're openimi, this internal light, and that's why I said so. That's why Yaakov is really the paradigm of Torah study, and the whole thing that the Zohar is bringing is that Yaakov was doivek the Torah in a way that we can't imagine. He was a true Torah scholar. He was so high. There's a further question as to why Yitzchak didn't go to Abraham to get her understanding of what was going on. Was my first question.
Yeah, why Rivka?
Yeah, but then between the relationship of Yaakov and Abraham, why he didn't give him the bracha to Yitzchak? This whole interesting thing that Yitzchak goes to this place called Be'er L'chai Roi. This, the well of the living shepherd. Is very interesting, and he receives the blessing from God there.
Where he was doing the Mincha prayer?
Yeah, but for Abraham, it's seemingly silent. Unlike other things, we see people blessing each other. We don't see it. So I see the idea in the Zohar is that Abraham didn't want to bless Esau directly. He didn't want to. You can't bless you can't bless some people in your family without blessing them all. That's the idea. It's a very deep idea. You got that aunt, the hypothetical aunt. I actually don't. My aunt's lovely. Or you've got this step uncle, or this half step sister.
Sister. One's cousin removed. I'm just trying to come up with a family member that you don't really talk to, you don't really speak to, and in fact you don't even really think about. When you say bless my family, does it include them? You don't think about them. There's the third cousin who lives in Nairobi. What exactly he's doing there in Nairobi? I don't know. He got this contract and the whole thing. When you say bless my family, you mean everyone connected with you. Your father's long lost brother's daughter who have her family. That's the way it works. That's what Am Yisrael is. That means that if I do my Hiyuv, it's good for the people. If I do an Avera, it's bad for the whole people. Let's say it goes up into the branches. We believe that spiritually. And Abraham believed it too. And that's why he couldn't give the direct bracha that Esav would be able to be menukah from that. We saw this in the Zohar last night, that there are these two what we call dadim, these two sort of supernal breaths that bestow blessing, that pour down from the blessings, almost kind of like a Bava Hagita kind of description. But wait, say that a description again.
It was sort of described as sort of bountiful breasts that flow the bracha down.
Okay.
But there was something in it, because the way we call that is Yenuka, which means suckling.
How do you say that word again?
Yenuka.
Yenuka.
But if you think about the moshul, you guys, you're not zocha yet, but you're going to see that when a woman and a baby are breastfeeding, they are in some other world. You're going to see it. I'm telling you, the baby's pulled right next to the heart. That's all they're doing. That they've got the eye contact. Special time between baby and mother, which is between Adam and Shekhinah. Receives its life force in a way that, although it's suckling, it can still gaze at Shekhinah. Do you see? They can still have eye contact while they're eating, while they're being together, and that's how a baby actually learns to see.
Most children can actually only see. I don't know the exact distance, so forgive me. It's like a short amount in front of their eyes when they're first born, and they identify mum and dad through smell. And as they get older, the eyesight strengthens. And one of the way that most happens is because they focus on the face of their mother, and sometimes, and obviously the father who's in the faith. But having that time with the stillness allows them to adjust their eyes to focus, and that's why we love our mummies. Certainly, this first person we think about, really. But that's Shekhinah. That's us in this world. We draw from this world, and we're used to seeing it. I'd like to consolidate just sort of like the end of what I'm saying. We'll hear all sorts of stories from everyone throughout the week, which is this last idea between Yaakov and Esav, which I said this idea, and it's so key and critical for us in our door for helping everybody, for doing everything. I said we're not Stalin, that's for Shalom, and we're not the Baal Shem Bob. We're not. So I want you to laugh, because this projection of who you're supposed to be, it's Torah suicide. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, who you're supposed to be, not who you are.
Because the thing is, I don't have to be perfect to appreciate a Rashi. I don't have to be a perfect person to enjoy benching or to pray properly Arabic. I don't have. Torah's not asking you to be your Yetzer Hara's version of what the perfect you is, where you somehow like dressed in white and fly down the street like suspended with like blessing channels, blessing everybody, and like your pets shoot laser beams of love and whatever it is. Like
that'd be pretty cool.
Pretty psychedelic, or maybe you're this stern person with a like long white beard who like looks a bit like Gandalf in your own little dream world of who you're supposed to be. But if you believe that that's who you're supposed to be, you're a fool, and you can't be close with Hashem, because Hashem is making you like you are right now. He's Hava. He's here with us right now. He wants you to be exactly as you are, and when you accept that you are who you're choosing to be, I'm choosing to be conscious of who I am right now. That's opening me. You're lit up. And then everything you do is a choice. You can't, if your life is a certain way, that's your choice. Life can be terrible and you can still be positive about it. Yeah. Or life can be, and vice versa. But this idea that the Esav is about going out and proving yourself externally, going and being the best at making shoelaces, if that's what you want to do, or if it's violin, if that's what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with being good at things. Kalim, we call them kalim. They're things that you're good at.
Yeah.
I like cooking, I like things, I did other things, I'm good, okay. But that's the Esav. The Yaakov is that I, right now, can connect with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and I can go forward in the direction I choose. And that you get from the Torah. That's what the Torah is giving us. It gives us the ability to, every time we encounter something, what bracha is it? How do I connect to God in this way? How do I use this to sanctify myself? Does this need a thing? Does this need Maisa? Does this? Is this Asar Shabbat? Everything is expanded consciousness, where we generate Orpanimi, where I can choose who I want to be and what I want to do at that moment, in a much more universal construct than just sort of the Esav. Well, I'll eat I don't care about the bracha. I've got my soup right now, right? I've got my lentil soup right now. On the day that Abraham died, he's more. He's talking about the Quran, the thing. Who's going to take on the spiritual? Who's going to take on the spiritual role of Abraham? I don't care. Give me my soup. That's Esav, and that's what we're being trained in Western society to do. Is I've got a problem with my kid. He's meant to just say what the teacher said to him back to them. That's how you pass. The teacher says, X is 7, and the kid goes, X is 7, and he goes, yes. And the other kid who's a bit younger, they go, X is 7, and and the kid just looks up and says, I played ball with my sister on Shabbat. It was very fun, but I didn't like the way she spoke to me because she was off on her, and she goes, oh, that's wrong. He didn't say back what the teacher says to her. It's not this. our whole derech of education. Do you understand what we're trying to do? We're trying to raise people who said, well, that's not right, and that doesn't seem right. And we want them to ask these questions and to be completely, the most disruptive halakhic minds, we call them gedolim. And they open doors and make a terem and say, well, you can't say that because we need the most disruptive minds, not these obeying minds who really it's all just about fulfilling roles, and so that they can be like Asaph, so that they can say, I am I do. Don't tell me who you are. Show me who you are. Like that. That's the thing. You don't just show someone who you are. You need to become aware of a person. We don't like each other because this person is a teacher, or this person is a sandal maker, or because this person is a pizza maker. We appreciate the quality of the person, and this is why, which is just to bring down to my the final point, is that with our wives, and soon to be a gentleman, and Mamish meaning should be blessed to find his Zivga gone. Should be Mamish blessed. Any Torah I have, any schut I have, is only my wife's schut because she sends me to learn every day. She's got so much Masir Nefesh. She'd rather I be here in Jerusalem learning Torah than be with her. She's Mamish a Sedeket. I don't know how she does it, but like you should be blessed with amazing wives who push you in Torah, who understand what we're trying to do, what we're trying to do. So when it comes to wives, I want you to understand about this inyan with Esav and Yaakov. It's so interesting. This is the last idea. In a marriage, you can look at the details of what gets fulfilled. Well, I expect the dinner to be made, and these are all things, and you expect your wife to be a very good cook, and a very good lover, and a very good host, and these are very Esav things. But there's nothing wrong with them. That's actually the key of Yaakov, is he can even have 12 tribes that can fulfill everything that that Esav can do in a miraculous way. But if you look at your relationship with this Or Hitzayin, the externalities, well, the challah is this way, the thing of that, and she gives me this, so I don't give her that. The Or Pnimi of the relationship is rushing to try and fulfill needs. It can be as simple as washing up, or as grandiose as trying to help with kids, or it can be as subtle as giving words of praise. But the Or Pnimi is that the wife, she wants to know what's happening inside you, because you're a statue otherwise. You do things, and with Kamat never there. You have to understand, so you've chosen our lives, with Kamat never home. The pain, I could cry about it. You Kamat never home. So, shatter it, okay, great, then you've got to go make some money, or go to college, or do the thing, whatever it is you're doing, okay? Do the thing, right now, what time do we have in Mincha? What time do we have in Mincha?
Well, around 1.
1, okay, great, so there's the thing, then you're back to work, or back to the thing. What time do you have tomorrow tonight?
Usually around 7:30.
7:30, okay.
Well, 6.
Okay, 6,
Yeah.
so then you have to get back home, so let's say it's 40 minutes on the bus. You're coming home at what, 8:30? 8 o'clock, 8:30? You're exhausted. Like if you do nights, you've been out the house since 4.
Oh, so by 10. Well, actually, if you've been up since 4.
You come back at 8. When do you think you're going to go to sleep? 11 o'clock? So you've got 3 hours to spend with the family. You've got 4 hours to spend with the family, quality time. Kids go to sleep around 7, 8 o'clock. So you're like, hi kids, like night. Except for Shabbat, of course, thank God. When they see Abba a lot more. But because the wives don't see the husband so much, they're always praying or learning or working or something positive. This is a good guy, like the guys before me. When you come, if you get involved in Or Hitzon, that's the time she sees you. You're involved. Why is it this, like that? Why don't you give me this? Why can't we do that? You never did. How come? But that's it. That's the only light she sees. That's why she's called Ein Tavas Klum. She has no light of herself, because she's Kulei Malchut. If you turn up and you're like, darling, wow, Divrei Torah, and I love you so much, and how can I try and make you a little bit more positive in life? You have to understand that to start on that derech with the megala of Or Pnimi, this inner light, because of course I prefer this beer to that beer, I prefer this food to that food, I prefer this to that. I've got preferences, I've got things, I've got needs, I've got wants. But that's not why she's married you. She's married you for that orpinimi that you possess. You go out into the world and you learn Torah and you pray. How can you come back and be involved in all Hitzon too much? If you come back and you start talking Torah and you start giving the children beautiful praises and giving her beautiful praises and making her feel like she is the most important person in the world, which is the whole job of Yaakov. We see what amazing Torah is with Yaakov and his wife. Really worth going into to understand marriage really properly. If we give our wives that kind of orpinimi, we make them realize that we half the guys in the yeshiva I know could be running their own businesses, running Fortune 500 companies, or inventing new cures for cancer. And all of them have given up being these egocentric versions of themselves to be these humble people who argue about books, who aren't out there in the world just trying to survive and winning and making it.
Yeah.
We're in here trying to be bittul to Hashem and trying to get closer to Him. And if we bring that home, if that's what our wives associate with Torah, is somebody who's kind and sweet and gentle and bittul, who's controlled. Now, obviously, I'm not someone to learn from. I've got my problems as well. But the truth is I see my faults. And I bless you to see yours early. See yours now. See that you're not a complete person now. And realize that if you can bring that, the true you, which is the teshuvah of this moment, and not being caught up in this person who never coughs or doesn't sneeze, or who beams light out of his eyes. If you're there, your wife needs to see that the sacrifices she makes for you to go to davening, go to learning and things like that, it comes forth in a husband that loves her and is able to express that to the children and to her, and to create an environment in the home where you bring the light of the Beit Knesset and the yeshiva and the sugya back to the house, and then the house glows. Why? Because it's living. The food that we've been talking about in the Shulchan Aruch, that's the kosher food she brings before you, and the chiyuv between husband and wife you're learning about in Gemara Kedushin is this careful balance between husband and wife in the discussions and the way they live their lives. And the niddah, and how that works, and the kashrut of the kitchen, and the festivals happening at your table. That's where the Torah comes alive, is in your home. Or everything else, the learning and all this stuff is just preparation for drawing the light back to orpinimi, which is bayit. That's what I'm trying to say, the orpinimi, that Yaakov is a guy dwelling in tents. He draws the light into the tent. And that's our job. And I bless you all. You should be zercha to find yourselves, please, to really be able to express your unique Torah personalities, to be able to have your table and to have your minhagim and your Torah the way that you like it. And to understand that the more honor and joy and spiritual light you can bring to your wife, the more bracha you will inevitably have.
L'chaim.
That was good.